Hello, my name's Michael, or Michael Bridges, and this is for the IGT Assessment 1. I decided to choose the second word set, Nature, Equipment, and Disaster. Um, and my chosen disciplines was going to be development. However, I decided to just kind of focus on design and development technically in like a secondary sense. The main reason is for this project that I started up, the idea that I had, there wasn't really a whole lot of programming for me to do, or I couldn't really think of anything off the top of my head that wouldn't funnel a ton of hours into it, more than the 8 hours. Well, I put a hard cap on the project of about 10 hours, and I actually spent about 10 and a half on this. Um, I know that the project basically accounts for 8 hours, but I decided to put a cap on 10 and a half hours so I don't get too carried away and also to help mix other parts of scheduling fit. I've been having a lot to do with classes and other stuff like finishing settling in, paperwork for other stuff. But so continue on to the project, and one of the quite glaring things about it. To begin with, I decided to import a custom skybox. Just use an HDRI from Polyhaven, and as you can see, this bright dot in the center of the screen is just a really bright spot on image, which is actually the moon, and because it's a long exposure, yeah, you can see where that comes from. I couldn't find the contrast that I was looking for. I remember doing it before when I used the same HDRI in a previous project a couple of years ago. Uh, I just had to kind of fine tune the intensity multiplier. I couldn't really find my other stuff for it. I'd have to really kind of dive into it. But anyways, I have kind of just made just a simple little thing here. Um, just made some couple bits of terrain. I went and found a pack of trees on the Unity asset store that look decent, or that would look like a pine forest, or trees from a pine forest. And as you can see, one of the issues that I couldn't quite figure out is their LOD being extremely short, even though they have 4 LOD states. But anyways, or either way, they still look pretty good. If I say so myself, I really like them. So the idea for this, if I were to take this further than just 8 to 10 hours, but if I were to go and turn this into a full game, the idea behind this was a natural disaster, or specifically a wildfire, is approaching, and you got swallowed up in the smoke and the embers that are coming towards you. Basically, kind of very fast onset. The player is a hiker that was out on a weekend trip, and they're currently pretty far into the woods, and they need to make it to an evacuation point that has been stated over the radio. Um, the player has a flashlight, which was for the equipment. That's how I interpreted it as the equipment was having a flashlight. I was thinking about having some small pop-up fires happen, and then have the player have to extinguish it to move forward, but it didn't really make sense in these type of terrain because the player could just walk around it. But so I decided to go with the flashlight instead. You can't really turn off the flashlight. I just decided not to really make that a functionality. Would be very simple to do, but it's also kind of pointless if it's off. There's not much of a difference because I wanted to kind of keep the brightness there so it wasn't too dark. That probably should have turned it down quite a good, considerably bit more. But so the player has paths of gravel on the terrain to follow. They're very loose paths because this is meant to be more less of a hike, more of like you're just kind of trailblazing down into the woods. But you can see there's it's gravel trails everywhere. Some of them loop back on themselves. Some go into dead end. And if the player isn't really paying attention, it's easy to lose track of where they're at. For the purpose of this demo, I did increase the player movement speed, so it's not going to be wandering around. Something else about this that I would definitely like to spend more time on is fleshing out and smoothing out the terrain a good bit more. if I were to put a lot more time into it. I definitely would like to spend a lot of time of actually sculpting the terrain, making it look a little bit more realistic, and really getting into the nitty gritty of the details for actually having a path down instead of having it kind of come up and around, or you'd break your ankles, or having a tree kind of halfway in it. However, I think this actually probably makes a little bit of sense depending on the trail. But as the player keeps following the trails, which they are branching, I just took the one that I've been going for testing purposes. And as you can see, there are patches of where there's not as many embers, but there are up there. I basically kind of tried to figure out a thing where the player gets down low in the terrain. The embers aren't down with them, but they're still above them. And there's as we keep moving forward, which I've actually already lost my place. Oh, this way. Okay. As you keep moving forward, there will be a threshold that the player will pass, or that you will pass, which should be coming up here soon, where the embers actually kind of fade out, which is where you're getting closer to the evacuation point, which I believe. Did I loop back on myself? I may have looped back onto myself. Uh, yeah, I believe I did. Yeah, I think I went back to the beginning. Whoops daisies. Oh, oh, no, I didn't. I was right. No, sorry. Okay. I really got lost. So as the player walks out far enough away from the initial starting point, I'll just go back to demonstrate this. The embers will fade out, and you can see there are embers floating around here. But if you move forward enough, they will actually start fading out because you're getting far enough away, and also kind of just a signal you're getting close to the end. And then I also put a pretty bright red light onto the end goal so that if the player is just wandering around, they do have something to be able to find. And then here's the little super primitive helicopter I made with a tail light to give a signal of where it is. But so the terrain is just basically a bowl of mountains. Nothing really to it, honestly. It just I spent a decent amount of time just trying to get it smoothed out to a decent degree, but I wasn't super particular about it. Placing the trees was actually the longest thing, and figuring out what textures to use or finding a proper texture. Something I did want to do, but I just didn't get around to doing it, was adding some stylized grass, which I don't know if it would fit or not. I found a stylized grass pack I was going to use, and I believe I do have it installed right here, or not installed, imported down here. I just didn't get around to really adding it in or working with it. Uh, I was trying to figure out other issues and bugs that were popping up that I wanted to actually figure out and iron out before I tried to get to the extra stuff that I wanted to try to do. Um, for the player controller, I used a pre-built one just for the sake of simplicity of the project. Um, I believe that is everything for me to cover. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either contact me on Discord, since you already have my Discord, or if somebody else is watching this video, leave a comment on this, and I'm sure I'll never see it. All right. I should